I'm listening to the lecture of Boris Kagarlitsky, and he's talking about feminism and his role in modern society, modern Western society. And his idea, his thought about this, I didn't listen to the end, so this will be a very isolated thought about the roots of feminism, the roots of this political correctness and racial inequality questions and how to say it, intersectional, interreligious, I don't know how to call it, the rights of LGBT, the rights of colored population, the rights of Muslims, etc., etc., that defending right now in the United States, in the Western world. Well, Boris Kagarlitsky said that if you look closer to these movements of feminists, modern feminism, people who defend Muslims, people who defend African American population of United States, or the black people in Europe, the same Muslims, as I said, people who defend them right now, they coming from this ideological standpoint of being like protectionists about them, because there was a real problem in the 60s with the black population, with women's rights, etc. And those problems, since there was policies adopted to make people more equal, but the same policies caused a very big difference for the people who was involved. In reality, for example, the black population of United States, instead of being adopted by by American culture, American population, was created huge wealth gap between the poor black people and at least middle class black people, and this gap is just simply growing. They do produce middle class black population. They do produce even rich and very successful black people. They do produce women who are successful, etc. But if you look at Black American society today, the life of poorest Americans become shittier with years. And when you're talking about this feminism question of the feminism, what rhetorics does women use, feminists use? That that there is some top level that can be reached by the woman. For example, they can be CEO of some big company. They can be like top manager of the same company, or for the part of the company, like they can be vice president, or the first after the vice president, the first after the president, etc. in some areas, let's say. So they can reach top positions in some kind of companies. They can't reach in reality those positions, but does that rhetorics really goes to resemble in the woman, in the working woman, let's say, working woman as general? Does those idea resembles in the working woman's? How many working women really care about how many women can't reach the CEO position in some company, or position of some how to say it, smaller company owned by big company, like CEO there, or top manager in some company at some position? How many real working women care about those women? And since you're understanding this, all these rhetorics about Muslims who in reality is, as Boris Kagarlitsky said, not me, they are indeed though that new bourgeoisie, because many Muslim people, they own stores, grocery shops, right? They sell groceries and therefore they pretty much self-employed, and therefore they are bourgeoisie, they working for themselves or employing other people. And if you get all that together, Black Lives Matter, all this LGBTQ problem involving here, include here even anti-fascist movement in many countries, including USA and Germany, by the way. If you include this, if you really look closer at what is really happening, this is have nothing to do with real fight for the black community rights, for the women rights, for the rights of religious minorities in the country, etc. In reality, this is a fight of the new bourgeoisie, of the new top of the middle class people who get richer, more successful with years, and they want a piece of pie that used to belong to the conservatives, to the people who right now on top. It's like new elite fighting against old elite, the new wannabe elite fighting against the real elite. And rhetorics of the Trump was exactly about that. He talked to real working people as they think. Trump talked to those people directly. I will bring back production in America. I will stop immigrants from coming in America, and therefore the jobs that used to went to somebody else, well, those jobs will stay for American people. And American people trust him, believed him, of course, because it simply was against that rhetorics of top of the middle class people who is fighting on the Democrat side, let's say. In essence, it absolutely doesn't matter which country you will take. It is the Democrats, American Democrats side. It means that liberal ideas, feminism, minorities of any kind, religious, sexual, color of skin, all these rhetorics coming and going to, coming from and going to the upper middle class people, which is right now becoming a new bourgeoisie. They do not represent working people at all, just as of course the other side do not represent the working people. Neither part of this conversation do not represent real working people. They fighting, as I said, the new wannabe elite fighting against old real elite of the country, no matter what the name of the country. But this absolute unacceptance of such ideas in the working people, in the people who employees, let's say, people who employed by someone, people who work for someone mostly, people who produce, who work at the land, etc. They do not, these rhetorics do not resemble them. They do not hear that those people talking about them, and therefore they voting against anything that Democrats can provide. In today's America, of course, the middle class, the upper middle class, it's very huge deal. It's very huge deal, and that's why those people voting for their rights, their abilities, their possibilities, let's say, about the possibility that can arrive if Biden wins. And the same shit happened in every country of the world right now. It's the same capitalist system everywhere, and it works the same everywhere. But of course, Americans who really bad want to bring America back to the good old days when it was all good and fine and dandy, they will die hard going to protect the Trump administration, Trump ideas, Trump slogans, etc. Because they think that he talking about them in his speeches, that he talking directly to them by declaring that he will going to bring back the production in America, etc. That's not going to happen, of course, because in previous video I talked about demontage of the social society of democracies and stuff. That's exactly what's happening. That's happening because for many years, many years, even decades, old elites supported and funded from their profits these social changes inside society, democratical changes inside the society, any kind of society. It doesn't really matter whether Germany, Japan, Australia, USA, Great Britain, any kind of country, if you name, just name it. And this rhetorics, this, like, for working people, it's very important to understand what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that the rhetorics of the Trump is the rhetorics of the old elite, that everything going to be the same, which is impossible, absolutely 100% impossible. They will squeeze your rights, they will squeeze your social guarantees, which not very many of them even in United States, but all those that already exist will be squeezed even harder. They will squeeze every last penny from you back, because for all those decades they paid for your well-being, they paid for your ability to consume. For all those years they will squeeze every penny from you. And the same will go for the other side, for people who today vote Democrats or Social Democrats, Bernie Sanders for example, or Green Party. That absolutely does not matter. Those people also represent a new bourgeoisie, a wannabe bourgeoisie, the people who themselves want to rule right now. Democracy existed for the people who own at least 3 slaves. The democracy that you know exists for the people who really own at least 3 slaves. And if you're talking about corporations, they own thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of slaves sometimes. When you're talking about small business, they own 1, 2, 3 slaves, slave worker, because they working for the pennies, let's say. And it absolutely doesn't matter what rhetorics used, what rhetorics do you hear from politics. If you choose to believe them, therefore you're voting against yourself, voting against working people, because it does not matter which party going to win in your country. It absolutely doesn't matter. The only thing that's going to change is who's gonna rob you for the next 30, 40 years, if they can restart capitalism, of course, because there is simply no resources to keep these things going. And austerity that Richard D. Wolff always talking about, austerity is forced on the working people. Let's cut off healthcare, let's cut off educational tuitions or support or grants or something along those lines. Let's stop welfare state, for example, which is a good idea overall, because as here in Russia, you can literally cannot survive at money that paid for unemployment and money that paid for many children is absolutely ridiculously low. It means that you have to work one way or another. From the other hand, in countries like USA, European Union altogether, Britain, the welfare state is just ridiculous because people need to consume stuff that corporations, rich people produced. And you have to understand this simple basic concept. There is no better option, as many said that we're voting for the worst of the shits. Don't vote. Just don't vote. There is no better options among those. No matter who you choose, no matter how they call themselves, whether it's socialism in Europe or some kind of social democrats in United States, it absolutely doesn't matter who you're going to vote. You will vote for old or new elite, for the people who want today exploit you and who will exploit you in the future. As a working people, you are like voting against yourself, because and those people have nothing to do with socialism, communism, or I don't know, something along those lines at all. Those all are capitalists. Doesn't matter how they call themselves. They can call themselves the fucking reptiloids. It doesn't change anything. They still the same people. The new bourgeoisie, which is democratic side of the things, let's say, even not of America, and of course the so-called Republican, but let's say conservative side of the things. They absolutely 100% always pro big corporations, pro old money, pro big bankers, etc. It's very important to understand this concept. Of course, for many Americans who, for all their lives, just get used to this idea that they have to rely on authorities, they have to rely on government. Even people who today is like 100% I'm anti-government, government is a thief, government is bad, government can't do anything good. Even those people are 100% get used to live in welfare state, in healthy economy that provided by governments of those countries, and those governments providing those health, those wealth through the military acquisitions of resources, of the working force, of ideas, etc., etc. So when you think that, if you really think that your job today is as employee is to vote for Trump or vote for Biden or vote for name the politics that you're going to vote today, it changes absolutely nothing for you. That's ridiculous. You're voting against yourself. And this is very important question again. I'm many times the saying that it's an important question. If someone will tell you that there is no class warfare in reality, there is no such thing as classes, well, spit them in the face, because it means that they represent the class of people who want to oppress one way or another. Even if you are a worker and you believe in American dream is when you oppress the people in other countries, pretty much being the perfect consumer. It's very important. It's a very important question to understand. And that's not about the class welfare, that's not about communism or socialism or Marxism. absolutely not about that. That's about understanding, the basic understanding what the fuck is happening in your country, what the fuck is wrong today. You question yourself, what the hell is going on? Why am I supposed to vote for Trump, who is not very, let's say he is not perfect? Why am I supposed to vote for Biden, which like not perfect at all? But understanding these causes, understanding who is fighting at the top, who and what they are fighting for, is very important, because in future years, this process of course happening already for years and years, but in future years your rights, your freedoms that you're so proud of will be simply dismantled, right? Deconstructed, or how to say it. I told this word and already forgot. Demontaged. All social guarantees will be taken away from you, and you will be sent at war for the benefit of rich people once again, as it always, sorry. And you must understand what is going on. Don't believe those who tell you that capitalism is all good and there is no other options, that socialism or communism never worked and will never work, like using the computer, and it used to was that some, I don't know, priests said that there is no science, there is only God, and God created everything, and therefore, and you using computers right now which not created by God. So there is that important topic about understanding what the hell is going on in your country, what the hell is going on with you, what's happening around you. There is welfare, there is warfare, and it's class warfare. Of course, the democratic way of thinking is not resembles in American working people, but just as the corporate, absolutely 100% pro-corporate rhetorics of conservatives, that also do not resemble, because something going wrong, and people can feel that, they can't understand it. That is why so many health problems, so many mental problems, so many other problems with drugs, alcohol, etc. in the United States, with mass shootings. And that is why it's so important to understand what is going on around you, and don't follow blindly those leaders who in some shape or form repeating the same rhetoric. We need more rights for women because they don't get at higher positions in corporations. We need more rights for the black people because who knows why. Yeah, they need rights, they need more possibilities maybe, but why don't you create the system, the economical system that provide them such possibilities, etc. And this discourse about LGBTQ, especially Q part of things, is just simply ridiculous. Again, I'm not telling, as Boris Kagarlitsky already also said, I'm not saying that there is no problems and some kind of gay people lives. That's not the case. I'm saying that's not important issues. That's not that issues that you have to fighting against, because sometimes when you think that you're fighting, as many times pointed out by conservatives, what if woman killed by the Muslims in the Western country? Who are you going to stand for? Women or Muslims? The same happened for homosexuals. Who are you going to stand for? Again, woman, Muslim, or homosexual? And this is going to sum up. And it's very sad that there is no such people in United States who can talk about those questions. Even Richard Wolff is not a, well, he's still trying to adopt, let's say, this liberal talking manner, very liberal and very democratic talking manner. It means that he will not offend any Muslims, any black people, any LGBTQ people, woman, etc. He can't, because he's going to be sued, and that's not his job to do. His job is to tell you what the hell is happening. But still, he is very, very, very under influence of that how to say, political correctness. Like, yeah, he is under the threat of political correctness today. But there is some fringe that have its limits, and therefore you have to just, understand what the hell is happening around you, to act accordingly to what is going on. Fight for you, for yourself, for your rights, etc. That's it.